dear colleagues. I think there was a slight confusion, misunderstanding about the webinar's topic, or at least the title. I think next time we will not do the same confusion. We will not cause a confusion like this, but topics are similar. So Central Asia and South Korea, I think, which Dr. Murat Bekova is an expert of. She is working on this and similar topics for quite a while. I think you have also been to South Korea, Dr. Murat Bekova, right?
Yes.
You have visited several times?
Yes.
Several times, perfect. And you are able to speak Korean?
No, I can't.
And Korea is a very important country for not only Kazakhstan, but for Central Asia, for whole Central Asia, as well as for Turkey as well. For Kazakhstan, it has numerous dimensions. First of all, of course, the demographics. So there are some Korean origin people are living in Kazakhstan. Secondly, for all the countries economically, Korea has been one of the G20 countries. They are investing heavily in all parts of the world, including Turkey as well. We have some significant Korean investments in Turkey. I think Kazakhstan is also one of the spots Korean investors are putting money into. Samsung is one of the, and also car industry is another focus of attention. So, but beyond, there is also a strategic partnership, or at least a political dialogue between two countries, and also Central Asia and Korea at large. So, as we all know, as the Eurasian Research Institute, we are conducting webinars every week in different subjects in a wide range of issues. So today's seminar will be on South Korea's relations with Central Asia. And I think Dr. Murat Bekova will be talking about from all aspects. I mean, she will be presenting all dimensions pertaining to this relationship. So I want to give the floor to Dr. Murat Bekova for her seminar. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Vakur Bey. Yes, as you told, I have been working with Korea for quite some time, and I have visited there. And also, since I have been studying at the Department of Asian Studies, Oriental Studies, so I usually are connected with Korean studies, with the students who are studying Korean language, etc. So, as well as I have participated in the Korean projects which are funded by the Korean government. So we have developed several projects which were conducted by the Korean government. And in particular, I could say that there is a huge interest among the Korean researchers in developing the research cooperation, as well as they are developing new direction in their research. Specifically, they are developing science diplomacy between Eurasian countries and South Korea. So now they are developing the new strategy, the science diplomacy, which will be focused on the Eurasian continent, but specifically Central Asian countries and Russia. So wait, I'm opening my presentation. So here we go. So my today's presentation's title is Central Asia in South Korea's foreign policy. As I said, that Central Asia in South Korea's policy are having quite important and strategic position. First of all, I would like to stop on the South Korea's in general foreign policy. We know that South Korea is has been developing its foreign policy as a middle power diplomacy, which is widely used in policy circles to describe the role that South Korea play or aims to play in a changing world. So this is particularly significant because the adoption of a middle power approach requires a re-evaluation, and South Korea's traditional approach towards foreign policy has been changing from the alliances with the United States, and its focus narrowly to the North Korean problem. Now it's changing its direction as a middle power to balance its strategies with other countries. So Korea, as in top 20 economy in the world, having a very paradoxical position in geopolitical affairs, being squeezed between regional powers as Japan, China, and the United States. From the other hand, Korea has been historically among the regional contenders for regional hegemony. So despite becoming influential on the world scene, South Korea remains relatively weak in its regional affairs. So that's why, in addition to that, there is an asymmetrical nuclear threat coming from North Korea. So all these issues are complicating South Korea's foreign policy. Therefore, South Korea now has been developing its focus on soft power rather than on its hard power. So all we know nowadays, very popular Korean music, Korean movies, including the global Hallyu movement, which is the global K-pop music attraction. All these aspects are developed by the Korean policymakers as a strategic important area for cooperation. In global governance, South Korea has been also actively working. We know that Korea also only in 1996 became the OECE member country, and only in 2010 it became the OECE DAC country. Since then, Korea has made significant efforts in providing official development assistance to other countries. So here I put the graphics of the share of the Korea's other disbursements around the world. So we can see that since 2010, Korea is the largest provider of the assistance for the developing countries. Apart from that, Korea has been developing peacekeeping operations all around the world. So Korea, we know that Korea is participating in disarmament and non-proliferation issues. It is using its through the major international instruments such as the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, Chemical Weapons Convention, and all the conventions to ban the nuclear weapon usage, and all the aspects of the non-proliferation issues has been promoting by the Korean government a lot. Also, as of 2021, Korean military deployed 5 different peacekeeping operations all around the world. The nuclearization process is also important in Korea's foreign policy. It is promoting all over the world its denuclearization policies, and in particular with Kazakhstan, it also has an bilateral relations related to this denuclearization process. Climate change issue is also very important, and Korea is very proactive in promoting climate change policy. In particular, Korea aims to become a carbon-free country by 2050, and also it is among the active implementers of the Paris Agreement. It is proposing a new agreement on the coal exit. So Korea is actively promoting discussions on the climate change policies. South Korea's government are also very active in the international organizations, including the leadership of Ban Ki-moon in the UN, and lots of other international organizations where Korea either actively participating or leading these processes. So that's why we know that Korea's efforts in global governance has been rising and sustaining, as well as we are seeing it's among the major providers of the soft power in the world. In terms of the South Korea's Eurasian strategy, it was started during the end of the Cold War era. The President Roh started to change the focus of South Korea towards the Eurasian continent. He was the first who provided the northern policy of South Korea. So seeing the situation during the last years of the Cold War, he see this need to redirection Korea's efforts in the foreign policy. Since then, the presidents Kim Yong-sang and Kim Dae-jung focused on the globalization strategy by pursuing their global efforts, including the adoption of different international agreements and becoming member to OECD and all the other efforts. Roh Moon-hyun was the first president who emphasized the role of Central Asia by developing the Comprehensive Central Asia Initiative in 2004. Then his strategy was further developed by Lee Myung-bak, who developed another approach, New Asia Initiative in 2009. It was further followed by Park Geun-hye, which she called it as an Eurasia initiative, which included all the northern countries, including Central Asia. And then nowadays, Ban Ji-yeon promoting its new northern policy, which was introduced in 2017. So we see all of them are promoting northern policy, understanding. So all these South Korean presidents demonstrating their desire to define themselves as strategic innovators when it comes to foreign policy. Therefore, they are, by following the same direction of the northern policy, are providing another angles, another approaches to the interaction with the Eurasian countries. Here I could also mention that all this, since the implementation of the Comprehensive Central Asia Initiative, all the Korean leaders had visited Central Asian countries. Specifically, all of them had visited Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, by thus emphasizing the role of Central Asian region in South Korea's diplomacy. Institutionally, relations with the Central Asian region are developed within the three major platforms. First is the Korea Central Asia Cooperation Forum, which was established in 2007. So far, we had 13th meeting of the Korea Central Asia Forum. It is a high-level platform where heads of governments are meeting and discussing various issues, regional and bilateral issues, and their aim is to enlarge the regional cooperation. Central Asia Cooperation Forum Secretariat was established in 2017, and it is based in Seoul, and its major function is to conduct and coordinate the work of the forum and the Business Council. The Korea Central Asia Business Council was established in 2020, and now it had held its first meeting last year, and now the major idea is to deepen the dialogue between the entrepreneurs of South Korea and Central Asian countries. Given the extent of the business cooperation between the countries, it would be a very useful platform for deepening business ties between the sides. Bilateral cooperation between the countries are mentioned here. So we have strategic partnership with Kazakhstan since 2009 and strategic partnership with Uzbekistan since 2006. Kazakhstan nowadays is the largest partner in Central Asia since 2016. Now at present, the share of Kazakhstan's bilateral trade in the general Central Asian trade is 41%. Before 2016, Uzbekistan used to be the largest partner, but it was now the process. Now after changing the government, Uzbekistan now also are trying to boost its bilateral engagement with South Korea. Regarding the visa ties, Kazakhstan is the only country which had a visa-free regime with South Korea since 2014. Now it's paused due to the pandemic, but in general, we used to have the visa-free regime with South Korea. However, Kazakhstan or Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan signed the employment permit system and the labor permit system agreements for labor migrants. So if Kazakhstani labor migrants are usually working as illegal, Uzbekistan labor migrants from Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan are working there within the preferential visa regime system. Trade and investment ties between the countries are also developing very fast. We have Kazakhstan as the largest partner, has 4.22 billion volume of the bilateral trade. Uzbekistan 2.36 billion, and the smallest one is Tajikistan with Turkmenistan with $13.2 million in 2020. However, we know that all the countries have been trade imbalance. For instance, Kazakhstan's trade imbalance is more than 1 billion. Uzbekistan also has very huge trade imbalance with South Korea. If Uzbekistan sending the importing goods from South Korea to $2.34 billion, the number or the amount of imports is only $0.02 million. So we can see that trade imbalance with all of Central Asian states are huge. Apart from that, the total trade with the countries of Central Asia is really not that significant for Korea's global exports. For example, in 2016, the total trade with Central Asian countries did not exceed 0.33%, which is only which is the 0.06% of the Korea's total global import share. So although the economic cooperation between Central Asian region and the South Korea is not that significant for South Korea, we have another aspect which is very important for the regional cooperation as well as for the bilateral cooperation. Ethnic Koreans from in Central Asia is the significant part of bilateral cooperation, because in Uzbekistan we have more than 100,000 ethnic Koreans living there. In Kazakhstan we have more than 100,000 ethnic Koreans. In Kyrgyzstan the number is 70,000. In Tajikistan it is over 600. However, unofficially it's more than 1,000. In Turkmenistan also more than almost 400, but also according to media it's more than 1,000. The reason the dissemination of the ethnic Koreans in Central Asia is that in 1937, when Stalin deported ethnic Koreans to Central Asian region, he decided to allocate them in Uzbekistan and in Kazakhstan, and they were not allowed to migrate from these countries until the death of Comrade Stalin. After the death of Comrade Stalin, the ethnic Koreans, due to their family reasons, due to their study, work reasons, migrated to other countries of the Central Asian region. For instance, in Tajikistan, in 1989, there were more than 30,000 ethnic Koreans, but because of the civil war in Tajikistan, all of the ethnic Koreans from Tajikistan moved to other neighboring countries, including Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Uzbekistan. Same situation in Turkmenistan. During the Soviet period, there was more than 10,000 ethnic Koreans living there, but after independence, they also moved to neighboring countries or to South Korea. In general, South Koreans in the Central Asian region are divided into 3 groups. So we know that majority of them come during the 1937, but the Koreans have used to call them as a Koryosaram. Koryosaram means the Koreans from the northern part of Korea, but according to German Kim, there is 3 groups of Koreans who were resettled to Central Asian region. It's the first group is the settlers mostly coming from the northern part of Korea, from the Russia's Far East, which represent 2nd to 5th generation here. The Sakhalin Koreans who are resettled from the southern part of Korea by force and live in the southern Sakhalin island. So they are representing 1st to 3rd generation. And the 3rd one is the former citizens of North Korea who stayed in the Soviet Union after contract work. So we have the largest part of ethnic Koreans living in Central Asia are from North Korea. And the small amount are came from Sakhalin, which is the southern part of Korea. The Central Asian Korean diasporas they are united under Association of Koreans. Each country has their own associations, and within the association they have their own Korean cultural centers. They have their own Korean theaters, and Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan has their Korea Ilbo newspaper. Tajikistan, Turkmenistan used to have during the Soviet period. Now, due to the small number, they are resumed their work. All these Korean diasporas are supported by the Korea Foundation, Overseas Koreans Foundation, and the KOICA, Korea International Cooperation Agency. So the Korean Foundation and the Overseas Koreans Foundation are operated under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the mission is that Korean Foundation support Korean studies in the region through various educational programs, and the Overseas Koreans Foundation supports diasporic centers and organizations that help overseas Koreans to maintain a sense of national fellowship in their living places. The KOICAS has a different mission. KOICAS is considered more multi-leveled, focused on strengthening Korea's relations with the country and promoting socio-economic advancement in the developing world. So KOICA is not directly involved with the work of the Korean diasporas. They work with human resources development and their contribution to the country's sustained development. Apart from that, so here I would like also to mention that thanks to the as in reciprocal respect from the South Korean side, South Korean, not only the government but also the private companies are organizing different charity events. One of them here as an example, we have the medical charity event organized by the largest Korean clinics. So they had used to visit Kazakhstan twice before the pandemic. The aim was to help to diagnose and treat the Kazakh citizens free of charge, in gratitude for the acceptance of ethnic Koreans, and they are usually choosing the hospitals depending on the number of ethnic Koreans living there. For instance, during the first 2 years, they had visited Taldykorgan because Taldykorgan has the largest number of ethnic Koreans living in this region. So they had planned to visit Kızılorda next time, but due to pandemic, they resumed it. But in general, this project has a plan for visiting Kazakhstan for 2 years in order just for 1 month to help the Kazakhstan citizens to help to treat and diagnose, and sometimes they meet even the difficult different surgery operations. All of them are free of charge, and the last time more than 60 medical personnel, including 12 Korean doctors, visited Taldykorgan hospital. And everything is, so they are announcing this event a couple of months before the coming. And so there is a queue and everybody could come to Taldykorgan, visit these doctors and have their own treatments and even operations. Regarding the ethnic Koreans moving back to South Korea, I just put the example of Kazakhstan. Here you can see the statistics. So this is the statistics of how, the first statistics of ethnic Koreans moving to South Korea. We can see the number are increasing. However, on the second graph, we can see the naturalization of Kazakhstani citizens in Korea. Despite the fact that more than 4,000 people are moving to South Korea in 2018, we can see that the naturalization process is very low. So only in 2018, only 29 people applied for naturalization in South Korea, and only 17 accepted the Korean citizenship. So it means that ethnic Koreans, despite living in South Korea, consider as their home Kazakhstan. The same situation in Uzbekistan. Numbers are still like the trend is similar. So it is explained by German Kim that ethnic Koreans felt like strangers in Korea due to the fundamental differences in their mentality, their ways of life, and their customs and habits. That's why, despite the huge opportunities from the migration to Korea, they prefer to stay in their in Central Asian region. Apart from that, there is an very huge educational cooperation between the sides. Multiple exchange and degree scholarship are provided by the different South Korean organizations, including Overseas Koreans Foundation Scholarship, Korea International Cooperation Agency. We also have Global Korea Scholarship, and as well as there is a different very like lots of institutional programs and exchange programs provided by the Korean universities as well as by our local universities. There is a huge movement between students of both sides. There is a huge interest among the Central Asian students to study in Korean universities, as well as from the Korean students coming to our Central Asian region. One of the differences of the Korean students coming to our countries is that they are usually study like the Kazakh, Uzbek languages. In the Hanguk University of Foreign Studies, the Busan University of Foreign Studies, Hanyang University, all of them provide the classes in Kazakh and the Uzbek languages. So the differences, I could say that there is a lot of Koreans coming, both students and the missionaries coming from South Korea. They all know Kazakh or Uzbek languages, but they haven't got any knowledge of Russian or English languages. So they even change their names and having their Kazakh names and spending here quite a long time, like for 1 year, half a year, to learn Kazakh culture. The same in Uzbekistan, they are love to visit Tashkent in particular. Another aspect is the official development assistance. As I said, that Korea paying attention to providing development assistance to developing countries. Here is the two statistics. First is the statistics from 1992 to 2013, where we can see that share the allocation of the ODA to Central Asian states. The largest amount of ODA goes to Uzbekistan traditionally, and their major areas are public administration, education, water management, and healthcare. But in the second picture graph, we can see that Kazakhstan is not among the recipients of ODA due to Kazakhstan changing its approach to, so now it's not anymore a ODA recipient country. That's why the development assistance goes in majority to Uzbekistan, then to Kyrgyzstan, and a small amount goes to Tajikistan. But the major areas of the ODA to Central Asian states are renewable energy and roads, and as well as other infrastructure projects, and huge emphasis goes to the educational tech sector and cultural aspects. So this is the share of the ODA to Central Asian region. And yes, and in general, it's the short like summary of the South Korean government's efforts in our Central Asian region. And I would like to summarize that first, as we see that economic cooperation, although we have in our Central Asian region, we have lots of Korean chaebols like Samsung, like Deo, like Hyundai, and all the other large Korean corporations working here. The amount is not that sufficient for the Korean government, for the Korean economy, but the fact that we have such a large population of ethnic Koreans, and we have such good cultural and educational and social ties with the Korean people, emphasizes the role of South Korea. And if the other countries are important, like people are usually know the other countries due to the economic partnership or due to the political influence, we are acquainted with the South Korea's people thanks to our people-to-people context and thanks to educational efforts given by the South Korean government. So thank you very much. This is my short overview.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for this presentation, Dr. Muratbekova. It was covering a lot of ground, and we have seen that the soft power of Korea is increasing in Central Asia.